All right, here we are, guys, back for another Golf Clash tutorial here. This is the Porthello Cove, hole number 2. Now, this can be a little bit of a challenging hole as well. There's basically only 2 ways that I'll play this in Tour 12. So that will be, definitely the wind dependent as to which way that I go about doing this one. So let me set this wind chart up real quick. So the first and most less complicated method to go about doing this is I'll do some kind of bump shot here towards the right hand half of this fairway here, right around here. And let me just kind of draw in my max line here. It's usually somewhere right around here, give or take. So this is kind of a primary side wind, tailwind shot. It's kind of the only time that I'll do this. And it usually requires, just a little bit of topspin to be able to get this one to roll out the way that you want. But it's also going to be very dependent upon the wind as well. So let's take a look here. So the first thing that you'll want is you'll want to bump this kind of right around here. It's kind of ideal, up and then around. Now what usually ends up happening is you can't get the ball guide to actually look like this. So what usually ends up happening is your ball guide will kind of look like this, and then it might kind of go up the left-hand side. Even with max spin, this is typically what your ball guide is going to kind of look like on this hole, which means that you kind of always naturally need some curl in order to pull this off. So in terms of how much spin you need to do, it usually varies. It's usually some top spin. You can usually use your ball guide. That's one of the nice things about sniper, at least 8. Hopefully you have a 10 though. So I'm going to put 10 on. Whereas, for example, a cat, I'd recommend for this hole, that you should be primarily using sniper or cat in this tour. The only other exception would be kind of hammerhead. So with the cat, you can actually get by with a very, very low. You could play this hole with a 1, for instance. And for the hammerhead, let me put the hammerhead in here. I'm going to kind of eliminate guardian. It's really not going to, I'd kind of shift it down a little bit. And the primary reason for that is, just because of the, it has good range, but it's kind of missing the ball guide. And especially if you have cat 6 or 7, for instance, you're going to have definitely, let me just go ahead and I'll put cat 6, 7 here for this shot. And this is more or less, the way that you're going to want to do this. And in terms of your spin here, you'll usually use a little bit of top spin here to get the ball guide kind of the way that you want it. And, I kind of can't remember exactly how much it is, but you can use your ball guide, and you can use, keep it in mind that you're going to want to hop it around here and let the ball guide. And, all these have good ball guide, these later clubs. So you'll at least have, 4 point something, so you can see the bounces and you can see the rollout. And that's typically what I'll use is, this is somewhere in the 1 to 2 range. I'm not, I don't remember exactly how much spin that you need, but I know it's, a little bit of top spin on this. I haven't played this one in a little bit. And, the tournament shot that I play is a little bit different than this as well. So, keeping this in mind, For the tailwind kit situation, you can kind of start to come off of things a little bit. So, I can kind of put 1 here and 0 here, for instance, but it's also going to vary depending upon how much wind you get as well. Because if you get a larger wind, you might need to, you're going to get a lot more spring forward on a large tailwind. And what I'll do in terms of my ring plays is for the headwind situation, we'll skip that for now because I use the driver for the headwind situation. So here's the tailwind, side wind, and what I'll usually use on this one is usually max plus at least 10 or 20. So plus 10 to 20, somewhere in there. So somewhere in that range. It just really depends on how strong it is. And, keep in mind that moving down here, you're moving to lower ground. So also keep in mind that, as I mentioned, you're going to need some natural curl more than likely. And you're usually going to use probably about this much. If the wind's pointed hard left, then you might need to up it. If it's pointed hard right, then it might be the one isolated case where you can kind of, even maybe counter it just a little bit. So somewhere kind of in this range from here to here is kind of more or less what you'll typically be doing for this hole. And similarly with this tailwind, max plus 20, somewhere in here. Will kind of be spot on. It's going to kind of overcarry and launch a little bit. And you'll usually end up reducing the amount of topspin that you end up doing to kind of get a little bit more control over the ball. So let's talk about the other shot because, you really don't have this option. And there's kind of 2 ways you're going to need to do this. If your driver is, really lacking, then you won't be able to do the one shot. So let's take a look here. We're going to put kind of a Pock 6 and 7 up here. Same with Thor's hammer. I don't have a preference for these, but the one that's going to kind of come below here is a Pock 5. If you're rolling with that, it's going to be very, very challenging. And Extra Mile 7 is also going to be, kind of make your life the more challenging road. So let's take a look at these shots real quick, because first off, the one landing zone is going to kind of be down here. And you can see it's kind of close towards the min club. However, I could start to get a little better with my land zone with the Apocalypse clubs. So with these, I can start to crank it up a little bit. Whereas with these, I need to land them a little bit more shallow. And, for the most part, we're going to, in the Extra Mile Apoc, we'll pretty much just use max no matter what. And we'll just kind of tweak our landing zone. And obviously our curl. So what usually ends up happening is kind of the same thing, is you'll usually see the bounces and it'll kind of be veering off just a little bit to the left in this case. And it'll be really hard to, so you might need to do just a little bit of extra curl naturally on these 2 cases. However, once you get to start and you're able to start cranking it up a little bit with this other case, then you can start to, then you can actually start to get this ball guide to actually kind of do one of these numbers. So you may or may not need curl. It just depends. The person that plays the wind effect better on this, because you're going to be landing on an upslope here. It's very, very challenging. Sometimes I'll play max in this case. Sometimes I'll go max plus 10, 20. Just depends on how large that wind gets. But you'll pretty much be towards max. And in this other blue case, there's probably a chance that you can play mid, and there's probably a chance that you'll play max plus 10. As much as that. So somewhere between mid to max plus 10. If the wind's 10, maybe I'll play max straight up for this. But if it gets stronger, then I might have to go beyond that. Keep in mind that I can't have it land short because it might clip the rough. So I'll have to do that extra play. So good luck with that one, guys. You know, that pretty much covers pretty much everything for this hole. Hope you guys do well on this one, and catch you guys on the next hole.